Hey, beautiful star beings. This is Meagan Mermaid, and I'm a galactic guide and channel for galactic consciousness. And I'm so excited to be here today for your May energy update. And if you're new to my work, I am here to talk about all things galactic, all things mermaid, all things connected to really opening up to our highest potential. So April was a crazy month. And if you're here live, feel free to say hello in the chat. Let me know how you're doing. Feel free to share how April was for you. It was definitely a month of trust, big time trust. And now we're in an eclipse portal and we are in Mercury retrograde as well. We have a big lunar eclipse that's happening on Friday. So I'm going to be doing a separate video all about the lunar eclipse. But, you know, the energy of April, the words that came through were consistency, commitment, and compassion. So, when we think about everything that transpired over April, I want you to consider. Oh, hi, Mariella. Good to see you. Thank you. Sending love from Toronto. I love that our Canadians are represented here today. Thank you so much for being here with us live. And, you know, we really had to trust. I know personally, there were a lot of experiences that I went through where it just felt like things were slowing down or solutions weren't coming yet, or it just felt like we were in this waiting game. And so we're still sort of in that, you know, with this lunar eclipse, it's going to be opposing Uranus. So we have to prepare for the unexpected. And we have to trust that whatever is coming our way is for our highest benefit. It's for our highest purpose. And so we don't know what's going to come with this lunar eclipse, but I can tell you that lunar eclipses are relationship oriented. So that means that if there's any relationships that are no longer serving your highest good, if there's any relationship dynamics where you're sort of disempowered, those are going to be highlighted for you. And it's going to be very difficult to ignore those signs or those feelings or those red flags. So I encourage you to be very gentle with yourself as we sort of approach this first few days of May. Now, Mercury is going to be retrograde through May 14th. So that means that the first half of May is going to be going backwards. So we're going to have this big lunar eclipse. It's going to illuminate something about our relationships. It's going to be something that may feel unexpected, something that may kind of surprise you in some way. And if you want to know where this eclipse is going to fall in your astrology chart or how it's going to affect you, you're welcome to book a personal session. The link is in the description below. And then once Mercury goes direct, we're going to feel this surge of energy. It's sort of like everything that we've accumulated from the solar eclipse that took place in Aries last month, all the things that we completed during our Mercury retrograde, all the things that we had to say goodbye to during the lunar eclipse. It all is creating this brand new space for a brand new timeline, something that would not have been available to us had we not done the healing work, had we not trusted, had we not allowed ourselves to pause, to integrate. This is what's so important. We need to understand that cycles of integration are imperative. Hi, Julie. Oh, yay. We have the UK represented here today. Love and light to you as well, my dear. Thank you for being here. And so the three words that came to me from the Mermaids for May is, are you ready? We have bliss, beauty, and rebirth. So this is a lot of really good energy. You know, May 1st was Beltane, which is a Celtic holiday that really celebrates the energy of fertility. And it's this space between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. So they call it midsummer. So this week, the first week of May, we're planting the seeds of summer. We're planting the seeds of really beginning to shine our brightest. And what comes before rebirth? death. And so I work really closely with the Morrigan, which is a Celtic sovereignty goddess that is very deeply connected to the cycles of death and rebirth. And so as we move into this lunar eclipse, which is happening in Scorpio, we've got to get clear about what needs to die, what we need to release. And a lot of that may be old versions of ourselves. So the chakras for this month are going to be our sacral chakra, our heart chakra, and our throat chakra. So whenever we work with a specific chakra, we can always eat foods that are that color. We can wear that color. We can use crystals or seashells if you like to do conchomancy like I do, or anything with that energy vibration. There's even essential oils that go with each chakra. So you can have a lot of fun with it. But what I've noticed is that when we start working with specific words and with specific chakras, it helps to sort of guide us in this self-initiated journey of learning our lessons for the month. So I'm going to go through each of the words. And then I'm going to go through each of the chakras and talk individually about what we can expect in this energy. So the first word that came is, was it beauty or bliss? I guess we'll start with beauty. Beauty makes more sense. So beauty, the mermaid empowerment for beauty is I keep creating beauty and don't look back. And so, mermaids and basically all elementals, whether you identify with mermaid energy or fairy energy or unicorn energy, anything elemental is connected to the healing of the earth. So, just like trees, they take the carbon dioxide that we breathe and turn it into oxygen. As elementals, keepers of mermaid DNA, we are doing that same process through the suffering and the karma of the earth through beauty. So it's almost like we take our individual and collective karma, all of the darkness, and we transform it and alchemize it into beauty. So beauty is an attribute of spirit, and everybody is beautiful. Everyone is beautiful in their own way. And so a lot of the programming in our society is trying to tell us that we have to look this way to be beautiful, or we have to be this age or this size or whatever it is. And that's false. That's keeping us from the true power of beauty. So beauty is something that's cultivated within us. Hi, Dawn from Portland. Good to see you. I'm happy to have you here live. Beauty is taking the suffering, the mud of our suffering, and turning it into the lotus of compassion, of grace. And that's what the mermaids teach us. Another aspect of beauty is recognizing that we are God in human form. So if you're working with divine feminine energy, then you are the goddess. Your body is the form of the goddess. The goddess is within you as you. So I want you to approach this month in that perspective. If you are the goddess in human form, how are you going to treat yourself? How are you going to nourish yourself? How are you going to take care of yourself? What are you going to wear? How are you going to adorn your temple? How are you going to do your hair or makeup in ways that feel good for you? Or how are you going to go completely natural and feel really good in that authentic embodiment? We have to understand that the goddess has an infinite number of faces, and every one of us is representing one aspect, one fractal of her face. So that means that every fractal, every aspect is just as beautiful, just as unique, and just as important as every other one. So rather than comparing your aspect of the goddess to other aspects, why not start treating yourself as that goddess? When you worship your form as the goddess, everything that you do becomes sacred, where rather than just rushing around life, you are approaching life in this sacred way. And that's when you start to see beauty everywhere. You start to see beauty in the colors of the sky and the way that the trees dance in the wind. You start to see beauty in the smiles of your children or in the wrinkles on your faces that maybe you're trying to avoid or whatever it is. You start to see beauty everywhere, and you become a facilitator of beauty, bringing out the beauty in others. And that's really how we heal. Every act of love heals an act of fear. So this month, our job is to take all that garbage of the individual and collective karma and to turn it into beauty and to keep acknowledging ourselves as the god or goddess within form. And Beltane, which started this month, is actually a ritual ceremony of that sacred marriage of divine masculine and divine feminine. In the Celtic lineage, it's the green man or the forest or the goddess and her consort. So it's just sort of this like representation of the sacred marriage of God and goddess when they come together that brings forth fertility. And so that's sort of what this energy is of this month, is fertility, rebirth, beauty, passion, life force energy. It felt like in April, we really just had to sort of walk through the darkness of uncertainty and trust. And now we're sort of starting to see the sparks of our desires. We're starting to see miracles. We're starting to see things coming through that we had hoped for and we'd prayed for. And we really had to keep trusting because we had to go through so much. And, we really just have to trust that in order for us to move into higher timelines, we've got to do the work. We've got to feel what needs to be felt. We've got to acknowledge and integrate those previous lifetimes. And we've got to figure out what needs to be healed and cleared in our lifetime. We need to figure out who we need to forgive, who we need to release. We need to be really honest with ourselves and others. And when we recognize that we're all healing the same collective wounds and we all have an aspect of the same collective gifts, then we don't have to feel shameful or wrong of how we approach or how we've acted in the past. That's another thing. In order to call in this rebirth, which I'm going to talk more about in just a moment, we've got to be willing to forgive ourselves, forgive others. And oftentimes we can get stuck in these cycles of wanting to blame ourselves and thinking, oh, like I shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have acted this way. And that can happen a lot with parenting. I know for me, sometimes I experience a lot of mom guilt where, I'll raise my voice or I'll say something I wish I hadn't. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, did I just like ruin my daughter forever? and that's real. That's why I'm sharing it. It's real because this shame that we carry within us. Hello, 1101 experiment sharing. We are drops of water making up the ocean of God, waves, troughs. I love that. That's so very poetic. We have to understand that we are human. We are God in human form, God in human form. That means that we're not going to be perfect. We're here playing these roles. But once we start treating ourselves in this more sacred way and we start treating others as they are God or goddess in human form, we start respecting the earth as the goddess that she is, the mother that she is. Then what happens when we work with this elemental energy is that we start to work in harmony with Mother Earth. And when we join forces with Mother Earth, then all of these dark agendas, all of these things that are happening, we can balance that out and we can sort of move that energy off of this planet without having to fight, without having to say they're wrong or they're doing this. Instead, we're so busy celebrating, having gratitude, having joy, creating beauty. This revolution of celebration is what's going to create this tipping point for ascension. So the next word for May is bliss. And bliss in my deck, the Mermaid Empowerment Oracle deck, which I'm very close to finishing. And I'm just in this process now of formatting the guidebook. So I had to wait until Mercury goes direct to complete all of that, but it's very close to completion. So in the Mermaid Empowerment Oracle deck, the card Bliss, the Mermaid Empowerment is, I embody the bliss of my soul's true purpose. So bliss is deeper than a feeling. It's not like happiness or elation, which you can experience that when you can have bliss, but you can also experience sadness or you can experience grief and still have bliss. And the reason for that is that bliss is an energy of living in divine alignment with our path and our purpose. And we know that we're doing that when we are following following our natural gifts and talents and abilities, and we're using them in service to humanity in some way. Now, sometimes that's going to look like a career. Sometimes it's going to look like volunteering. Sometimes it's going to look like parenting your children. Sometimes it's going to look like taking care of an elderly parent or being a caregiver to an animal. It's always going to be different, but the bliss comes from recognizing that this just feels good. It feels good to be in service, doing what you love. So if you don't know if you're in that space, ask yourself, does this feel good being in service, doing what I love? And if it's not, this is an opportunity for you to figure out how you can start to shift things so that you can start to be in that space of divine service. Now, we didn't come all this way to do something that we dislike or we're not good at or we don't enjoy. So that's a common misconception that if we start serving humanity or we step into our light work, that we're going to have to, be uncomfortable, or that the universe is just going to put us in some random space. You co-created your soul contract with the universe, with your higher self, with your star family. So it's just about uncovering the pieces, figuring out, where are you supposed to be now? And the thing is, sometimes it's going to take a few steps to get to that space of bliss. Maybe you have to work a certain job because it's going to give you characteristics or qualities to step into that next space. But you can still find bliss even if you're not 100% satisfied with where you are in this moment. And the way that you can do that is start focusing on gratitude and service, how you can love, serve, and give. That's how you can graduate out of any assignment that you feel like you're ready to move out of. And so then this final this final word is rebirth. And so rebirth is this process of transformation, of alchemy, of recognizing that we're not the same person that we used to be. And so when we start to recognize that, it starts in this internal space of radiance. Radiance is the inner glow, our connection to God or goddess within us. So rather than looking outside of ourselves, we find that radiance within. And as we start to connect with that radiance, as we start to identify with that radiance, it creates the rebirth process. And the rebirth process can sometimes feel a little bit messy. I mean, look at a caterpillar and how it changes into a butterfly. It literally has to devour itself. It has to digest itself. And when we work with energies like Kali or the Morrigan or other energies that focus on this aspect of death within the divine feminine and the dark feminine, it has to really be this ferocious energy of destroying anything that is not in alignment, that is not truth. And so when we're working at this from this higher space, from this higher understanding, then we can see that whatever is falling away, whatever is not working, it's for a reason, so that we can rebirth into who we really came to be and really step into alignment with bliss and with beauty. So how do we do that? The first thing that we need to do is we manage expectations and disappointments. So, especially with Mercury retrograde, we may have plans and plans change, or, people might be coming back into our lives this month. And we might have ideas of how it can look. Oh, maybe, this time it could work out, or maybe they're different, or, we have to let go of trying to plan every step of the story. It's kind of like if you go to a movie with someone and they're like asking you every second, like, what happened? Why did she say this? Or what's going to happen after this? It kind of spoils the movie, right? It's like you just want to watch and see what happens. So when we start working in harmony with the universe, we know that we're in flow. We know that all we have to do is figure out how to step into our bliss and how to create beauty, which is our light work. And then we're in that flow. And the flow is going to carry us to people or situations or experiences. And it becomes what's called an imrama. So here's a card from the Mermaid Oracle deck by Lucy Cavendish that sort of displays this energy of Imrama. And Imrama is a journey over water. So it's a quest. And that's sort of how we can visualize our ascension or awakening journey as a quest, where we're stepping into this rebirth process, this journey of becoming a new version of who we are. And it's actually the journey about becoming who we've always been, because everything that we're releasing was never us to begin with. So, in order to step into that rebirth, we've got to figure out how to manage our expectations and disappointments about what we wanted to work out that didn't. Perhaps there's people that aren't going to make it through the lunar eclipse portal. We've got to be really honest about that, because lunar eclipses have to do with relationships. So you're going to feel very clearly, especially because it's a lunar eclipse in Scorpio. Scorpio is all about uncovering things, right? It's uncovering the depth, the secrets. Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for being here. And so if we're working in harmony and being transparent about the people in our lives and our relationships, we're not going to have such an abrupt the changes that happen to us are not going to feel so abrupt or out of nowhere or disruptive. So that's a really good word for Uranian energy, is disruptive. And in order to have transformation, we've got to leave things behind. So you know what is dead in your life. And if you're not sure, work with the energy of the Morgan, and she'll clearly tell you what is dead. And her words are always, let what's dead be dead. If we let what's dead be dead, we honor it, we acknowledge it, we release it with reverence and respect and forgiveness, then we open up the space for what's new. Aw, thank you, Dawn. I love all of the beautiful comments that everyone is sharing, and I'm so grateful to have all of you guys here live. Thank you for taking the time today to join with us in community. So, okay, those are the 3 words of this month. And if someone wants to write it in the comment feed, feel free. So it's beauty, bliss, and rebirth. And so the chakras that we're focusing on this month are our sacral chakra, our heart chakra, and our throat chakra. So these 3 chakras work in tandem. First of all, the throat chakra and the sacral chakra are very deeply connected. They're sort of like the lower and upper octaves of each other. And in the subtle bodies, the sacral chakra is connected to our emotional or astral body, and the throat chakra is connected to our Buddhic body. And so it's sort of like the higher octave of that astral energy, the desires that come from being in connection with our higher self. So yay, and Dawn sharing beauty, bliss, and rebirth. Thank you, Dawn. I appreciate that. It's really helpful to sometimes see that in writing. And I would encourage you to maybe write those words on a Post-it, or place it on your mirror, or somewhere that you're going to visibly see it every day, so that you can remember, this month I'm focusing on beauty, bliss, and rebirth. And that felt really helpful for me in April, when I was like consistency, compassion, and what was the final one? I don't even remember now. It was consistency, commitment and compassion. Yeah. And so those words really helped. So I'm hoping that, that pattern will continue with this month's words. So, okay, how do we focus on the sacral chakra? Especially because this month started off with Beltane, which is all about fertility. It's all about the joining of the sacred marriage and the energies of the masculine and the feminine, all that desire stuff, right? So the words that came to me on Beltane is that the sacred marriage begins within. And so we have to understand that our sacral chakra is like an attractor field, right? It's just this magnetism that's around it. And based upon where our desires are, based on the level of shadow or Siddhic frequency somewhere on that range or aspect, we're going to attract situations or people to us. And so, if we're vibrating at a lower resonance, we're going to attract situations or experiences that might be lower based desires, or where it may, create conflict or suffering or issues. And so, the more that we start to do our healing work, and the more that we start to clear and purge our own karmic patterns, the higher we're going to magnetize other beings to us and other desires to us that are actually going to fulfill us. So this month, I encourage you to do work on your sacral chakra. Perhaps get clear about like what your desires are. You might want to figure out if you need to do cord cutting or releasing of previous partners, or if there's any relationship dynamics in your life right now where you feel like you're giving your power away. That's very deeply connected to the sacral chakra, is power dynamics. The sacral chakra is also very deeply connected to creativity. So we can use that life force energy that we have within us as the god or goddess within form, and we can offer it to ourselves, to a partner, or we can channel it into these creative pursuits. So this is a great month for creation and, putting time and energy into your creative products, projects, whatever it is. And I also encourage you, if you have any creative projects that are close to or need to be brought into a space of completion, this is the time to focus on that in Mercury retrograde. Use the first portion of this month to complete your creative ideas or projects, and bring them into being, birth them into being. And that in turn is going to help your own rebirth process. Now, I'm going to move from the heart chakra to talk directly about the throat chakra, because there is this connection between the sacral and the throat chakra. So the sacral chakra is orange, right? It's like this deep orange color. So if you want to eat oranges this month, or orange foods, or if you want to, have orange crystals, or wear the color orange, or have the color orange around you, that's going to support you in the healing and the balancing of your sacral chakra. Now, the throat chakra is sky blue. So I don't have my Larimar. Normally I have my Larimar, which is sky blue. But, wearing sky blue, having it around you, eating foods that are blue, or whatever you can do to bring that energy of blue is going to feel helpful. So we'll just go over the colors again. Orange, sky blue, and then for the heart, it's like an emerald green, or even like a pink color, kind of like this color here, which is the inner heart. And I believe we worked with the heart chakra last month as well. I want to say it was the root chakra, the heart chakra, and now I can't remember what the other one was. I think it was the third eye. I could be wrong though, but you can always revisit my April energy update, and I will tell you about that if you want to figure out like what came to pass, or how those energies played out in your life. Often it's good to sort of go back, especially in this retrograde energy. Pluto is also retrograde. It just went retrograde on Monday, Beltane. So we're doing a lot of inner work, and pretty soon Pluto is going to move back into Capricorn for a short while, and we're sort of going to be revisiting those energies of Pluto and Capricorn. So there's a lot of going back before we go forward. But back to the throat chakra, we have to be so careful this month of what we are speaking, what we are spelling out. White magic is really the energy of gratitude. Thank you is white magic. And as magical beings, we can claim our magic. Black magic, I don't know why I can't talk today. Black magic is, when we use magic that's not connected to the heart, that's connected to our ego, because when we're stepping into a space of non-heart centered desire and non-heart centered manifestation, it's always going to come in a way that's not expected, and oftentimes the results are going to be very harmful for ourselves and others. So that's why we have to take control of this throat portal that we have, recognizing and honoring our powers, the goddess or god within form. How are we going to speak this month? Are we going to speak about complaining about the things that we don't want, or, talking about the other characters in our life and how they're not doing this, or why can't they just be this way? Or are we going to really tune into that power of being able to speak things into existence. And so when we're in connection with our emotional body and with our desires, then we can speak out and call in the desires of our heart, which is the final piece. When our heart is connected to our throat chakra and our sacral chakra, then we are going to be in alignment, in right relationship with our desires. We can speak things into being. We can call things forward. We can manifest. We can, what's the word? Demonstrate miracles. So our heart chakra, we've got to be in harmony with our heart. So even if it hurts, even if it feels challenging, that's your assignment this month, is to keep your heart open. I went through like a very devastating heartbreak a few months ago, and I hadn't heard from this person in months. And then they finally reached back out to me, and I had the opportunity to really speak from my heart about that experience, how it felt very devastating, how I felt this way. And I was able to speak my truth from my heart without making this other person wrong. And I discovered after this conversation that I needed to set that boundary, that this particular relationship dynamic was complete. But because I have done the work in keeping my heart open, it's always a process. I was able to use that throat chakra to speak the desires of my heart, to close this in a good way, so that that pattern is complete and that we both can move on with a higher awareness. And so, as difficult as it was for many months to go through all of that pain of that relationship being the catalyst of bringing up these deeper wounds from childhood or being a teenager, and having to be with that and having to sit with the grief and the sadness, it's brought about this energy where my heart stayed open, and it continues to stay open. And this is where we're moving into in the awakening process, is that we can feel all of our feelings and we can communicate them, and we can keep our hearts open even if others can't meet us where we're at in this time. Yeah. Wow. 1101 experiments sharing epic creation is always in season, but now it's deeper than usual. Half my closet is orange. Wow. I love that. So, okay. Now that I'm feeling vulnerable about sharing my personal stuff, let's move into the cards. We talked all about the chakras. We talked about the words. So again, we have beauty, bliss, and rebirth is this month's, focus, and the chakras are our sacral chakra, our heart chakra, and our throat chakra. So I'm going to pull a couple cards from my deck, as well as the mermaid, the oracle of the mermaids. Oh, I was actually calling it the something else. So I'm glad I just got a new copy of this, because the first deck that I had, I think I got it in like 2015. So every now and then I like to update my decks, especially if it's a deck that I really enjoy. And I really recommend this deck by Lucy Cavendish. The artwork is really beautiful. And she has a guidebook that's really thorough and detailed. And she talks a lot about mermaid mythology and a lot about the different stories about mermaids and how to work with shells and everything. So I really recommend this deck if you feel called to mermaid energy. So I'm just going to pull a couple cards from my deck, the Mermaid Empowerment Oracle, and this deck. And we're just going to bring in some beautiful mermaid energy to give us an idea of how to just float through the flow of all the changes that are coming. I feel like it's kind of like we can see the energy of May being like this volcano that's like getting ready to erupt. And then there's going to be this eruption point with the lunar eclipse. And then the lava is going to flow. It's going to kind of clear out what needs to be cleared out. And then afterwards, there's going to be this calm where the sun's going to come out and there's a rainbow and like everything's going to look greener and more beautiful. And it's almost like we just have to sort of trust that this rebirth is coming. But you can't have rebirth without death. It's just not possible. And we don't have to fear death. We can honor it, especially when we work with the energy of the Morrigan and other beings that serve with that transitionary period, because life is always about deaths and rebirth. So, okay. Oh my gosh. This is so much synchronicity. So, you know how I have two of the same deck? I pulled the same card. Look, this is like a double message for Imrama. Sorry, I'm like trying to hold them up and this camera is like backwards. But anyway, so this month is a quest. It's a journey over water, which is our emotions. And, you know, time and tide came through from this deck. And oceanic spells and rituals. So I feel like this month is about using our throat chakra, using our ability to call the things in that we want, you know, perhaps doing some type of ritual. Now, on the lunar eclipse, and I'll be sharing more in a separate video about how to work with those energies, I really just encourage you to release whatever you want to release. Let that go. I would just focus on the energy of surrendering and releasing anything that needs to go in the highest vibrations of love, truth, healing, and peace. I wouldn't encourage any other deeper manifestation work or magic work other than that, because again, there's just so much energy of uncertainty. You don't know how it's going to go. So your best bet is just to focus on spirit and trust spirit is guiding you. But when we get into new moon, which I don't have. I should have looked that up. If anyone can look up when the new moon in May is and what sign that is, I want to say it's we just had the new moon in Aries, right? So it should be the new moon in Taurus, or did we already have the new moon in Taurus? I'm a little confused. But anyway, so the next new moon that we have, that's when you can start to do your manifestations of how you want to bring in bliss, beauty, and rebirth into your life. And then the final card from the Oracle of the Mermaids is freedom. So this card says independence or self-determination. So before we can call in that sacred partnership or anything that we want, we've got to find freedom, where we've got to free ourselves of anything that's no longer serving us. And this eclipse is going to support in that. We're going to be doing a lot of purging, a lot of releasing, and not only in our individual lives, but also as a collective. So it's important that we're very kind and we're very compassionate to other people, because especially those that aren't aware of the subtle energies that are happening every day with the astrology and with different things, they're just reacting to what's going on without an awareness of why. So, you know, if people seem like they're projecting more, or if they're grumpier, or if it just feels like the energy is heavier, just be kind to these people that aren't aware of the why. And so perfectly, from my deck, the Mermaid Empowerment, we have non-reaction. And so the Mermaid Empowerment for non-reaction is I'm a master of non-reaction. So non-reaction is about taking that moment to pause rather than, just saying that thing that you want to say or having the last word. It's taking that pause so that instead of projecting out onto what's happening, instead you bring that energy back in and you ask yourself, what is self-care for me in this moment? What do I need? What would make me feel nourished? What would make me feel supported? Okay. And then we have the energy of echoes. And the Mermaid Empowerment for echoes is I witness the echoes and watch them fade. So echoes are sort of like the timelines that are falling away as new timelines are being created. So it's sort of like we're watching like two different things happening. We're watching the desires of our heart like coming into form, and we're watching like the old timelines, the old patterns falling away. So oftentimes when this card echoes comes through, it means it's kind of like a final testing. So for example, maybe you said that I'm no longer going to be in toxic relationships, and you stopped contact with like a certain person, and you're like, oh, I'm so proud of myself. And then during this Mercury retrograde portal, somebody from your past comes through and they kind of like slip through, and all of a sudden you're back in that toxic dynamic, maybe not with the partner now, but a partner from the past. And you've got to ask yourself, is this an echo? Is this testing my commitment to my new pattern or my new belief system or my new way of being? And it doesn't mean that you can't engage with those people, because obviously if someone's coming back into your life, there's a reason and there's a lesson, but you want to be mindful of confusing the message with the messenger, especially during Mercury retrograde, void when people are coming back from our past, it can often be temporary. So I share that, as a way to just be gentle with your heart and to enjoy and be present for whatever the situation is that's coming up without, May 19th. Thank you so much. So the new moon is May 19th. So that would be an excellent time for ritual work and such. So yeah, we just have to be kind to ourselves, be open to the lesson, but also recognize that, there's so much shifting and changing in this rebirth process that if we're trying to hold on to something when we're changing, we're going to be holding on to something that might not even be in alignment with who we are by the end of the month. So we've really just got to figure out, how to go with the flow. You always enjoy hearing echo. Sounds fun. Nice, Richard. Yay. Hi, Dragonfly. Good to see you. And the final card that we have from my mermaid deck, the Mermaid Empowerment Oracle, is Open Heart. And this is so perfect because we're working with the heart chakra this month. So the Mermaid Empowerment is I'm in harmony with my heart. So let's just say these three again. I'm in harmony with my heart. I witness the echoes and watch them fade, and I'm a master of non-reaction. So no matter what happens this month, when that volcano erupts and we have no idea what's going to happen, we're going to be in this space of preparation through our self-care practice, through our open heart, where those echoes can come back and we're not going to be sucked back into those old stories. Or we can practice non-reaction and we can observe and be curious and look for the lesson underneath without, getting stuck in the drama. So again, the cards from the other mermaid deck are freedom, time and tide, and Imrama. So we're going on a journey where we're stepping into a deeper level of freedom. And the freedom is this liberation from the things that were never us to begin with. So let what's dead be dead this month so that you can call in this energy of rebirth. If it comes, let it. If it goes, let it. Free yourself by letting go. Focus on yourself. Take care of yourself. Recognize that when you cultivate that balance of divine masculine and feminine energy within you, and as you live in this sacred way, recognizing that you are the god or goddess within form, life is going to be much different for you. It's going to feel more mythic. It's going to feel like an adventure that you are guiding, that you're in control of. And you've got the ship, but spirit is the waves and the water. So we might not always know where we're going, but we can be in control of this ship with an open heart and with non-reaction. So I love you all so much. And remember, the words this month are beauty, bliss, and rebirth. And the chakras are our sacral chakra. Why can I not talk today? Sacral chakra, heart chakra, and throat chakra. So I wish you all the best, and I will talk to you more later this week in my lunar eclipse video. And I hope that you all have a wonderful day and happy May. Thanks for being here.